Sedimentation on Lake Altoona has gotten to the point that the lake's going to die. It's going to disappear. And scientists who are working with us have told us that if we don't do anything within 20 to 30 years, it's going to become a marsh. And we will have lost the place where our children grew up and our grandchildren play in the water. It's our home. So for us, this is critical. And we can't sit and do nothing. That is not an option.
To remedy Lake Altoona's economic and environmental challenge, project engineers from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers St. Paul District and researchers from the U.S. Army Engineer Research and Development Center, or ERDC, are testing another option to address sedimentation in lower flow areas.
I participated in a value engineering survey, a study of the dredging requirements for the whole upper Mississippi River system. And the only recommendation to come out of that study was to study new ways to manage sediment. And the Bedload Sediment Collector was highly recommended by the group. And as we were implementing that study and I was going to acquire the equipment, I was introduced to planning assistance to state study with the St. Paul District, working with the Lake Altoona District to study reservoir sedimentation. Reservoir sedimentation, of course, is another very large priority to the Corps of Engineers, so we were excited to make this partnership with Lake Altoona. And unexpectedly, I was able to implement a low-flow study on the Eau Claire River last summer and learn how to operate this equipment and build a good partnership.
So the benefit of the sediment bedload collector is that when they install it, it's actually, in this particular design, it's installed below the bed, so it's not elevated or raised, so you can still allow for recreation to go over it, so it's very passable that way. So from the kind of an environmental side, that's very beneficial. And in this case, the design also doesn't have kind of a sucking mechanism where it pulls the sediment down into it. That's very important when you're installing it in the spring during fish spawning seasons. You don't really want that suction because it could influence and pull down fish eggs. And so this particular design, especially in these types of systems and at the time frame where they're getting the most sediment in the early spring runoff, is very environmentally friendly. In addition to that, there's also the economic side. In this case, the local lake association is spending about $250,000, $275,000 annually to dredge that material and place it upland in one of their upland sites.
It's taxpayer money, it's our money, we want to be careful with it. So we'll do the test pilot study first, and we'll learn from that before we move forward to the next step, which hopefully will be installing on a permanent basis.
The implementation study has also piqued the interest of other USACE districts.
We have large reservoirs all over our district. All of those reservoirs are catching sediment from primarily the Missouri River, a number of large tributaries, and hundreds of small tributaries and creeks. We understand that there is not a single solution to managing sediment. But we do see the bedload collector as a piece of a suite of management options. What we would like to mitigate, or what we'd like to solve, is the small scale impacts of sedimentation. These bedload collectors can be put on small creeks and streams. They're fairly non-intrusive. They're kind of the opposite of a large dredge setup on a reservoir. And maybe with this pilot, find a setup or a case where we could look to install multiple of these bedload collectors on our small creeks and streams, therefore making the use of the sediment, beneficial use of the sediment once we pull it out of the collector, a more local application. Instead of having a huge pile of sand in one place, we would have the opportunity to collect bedload material in smaller quantities in a distributed area, which could make it easier to find beneficial uses for that material. So our goal, in addition to focusing on the local benefit here, is also to provide enough information about the scalability of the system so that other districts may be able to say, I think that would work for me, and there's sufficient data here for me to, or for our district to give it a try. If we meet our needs and we provide information for other districts to understand how this technology may fit into their management portfolio, then we've been successful.